I have arrived. Suma is disgusted by his new combination of food, tentacles and peanut butter. The messed up combination makes him laugh. As the restaurant starts bussing, the father and son duo gets invested in preparing fried rice. They have a friendly competition over who cooked it better. This time, the guest was Suma's friend Mayumi, as she tastes the rice, and, well, she comes. So, for the 489th time, Suma loses to his father, Juichishi. As revenge, he makes Mayumi eat his peanut butter crap, making her feel rather violated. If you think Suma is a sadist, don't. He just operates on a higher plane than we do. After enjoying the delicious food, the customers bear witness the duo fight over who made the worst new dish ever. After a usual busy day, the restaurant is about to close when Mine-gasaki, an urban planner, enters the building. He explains that wants buy their restaurant so they can build a Forever 21 there. Juichiro ignores them, while Suma rejects the offer, willing to close the restaurant only when they can't provide for their customers. So, the next day when he comes back, the entire food stock in the restaurant is thrashed and Mine-gasaki comes in ordering the juiciest meat ever. Suma is pissed, but decides to take the challenge. He puts up the condition that if he satisfies her taste buds, she will never set foot in the restaurant. For the next few moments, Mine-gasaki and her bodyguards just look at Suma cooking up a storm. He serves her their special dish, bacon filled with potatoes. Despite there being no meat, he tells her to taste it before mocking it. The aroma makes her take up the offer. As she takes the first bite, the food touches her soul, but Suma takes the plate away, edging her until she appreciates it and promises to never set foot again. Begging for more, Mine-gasaki agrees to leave. Juichiro comes back and announces that he'll be living with his friend for 3 years. He decides to close the restaurant and send Suma to the most prestigious culinary cooking school in the country. A school with a graduation rate of less than 10%. Nakiri Arena is known for having the god tongue. Don't you just love anime, boys and girls? As her sense of taste is so refined, she's been called to judge the tastes of high-quality restaurants since childhood. For this reason, she was asked to judge the entrance exam for the Totsuki Tea House Culinary Academy, despite being a student herself. Suma wanders around the academy after having a chat with his dad. Juichiro, who has been traveling the world and regaling people with his cooking, challenges Suma to graduate from this academy. All the applicants have some affiliation with high-quality restaurants, so when Soma revealed he's the son of a man that owns a diner, then dismiss him. A French boy gets slammed into the ground by Suma for this petty act. Hood. Everyone is shocked to see Irina as a judge. To make things short and interesting, she challenges everyone to make something involving eggs, and if it satisfies her palate, they'll pass. She decides, gives them 1 minute to back out, if scared. Shockingly, they all fall victim to her conquerors, Haki, and flee. But not our boy, red-haired Suma, who doesn't even know who she is. Even Irina and her puppet are shocked to see him challenge her. After noticing he is linked to a diner, she already decides he is wasting her time, so when Suma announces he is making rice with seasoning, she contemplates on whether to kill him or just walk away. Suma stops her at the mention of it being rice-transforming seasoning. Curious, Irina allows him to commence. An old man peeks into the situation from another room. The seasoning that looks ordinary from afar actually transforms the rice when added to it due to the aspic cubes Suma's added. As Irina takes the first bite, she's overwhelmed to the point that she forgot to judge the food and cannot help but enjoy it. Suma is confident that she likes it, and it's pretty obvious by the fact that she can't keep her hands off from eating more. The girl with the mighty palate feels like she is being caressed by angel feathers as she tastes this food. Suma calls her out for not knowing the real ranges of taste due to looking down upon diners and mediocre places. Due to her arrogance and empty dignity, Irina decides to fail him in the exam after lying that the food is disgusting. She makes a call to inform her grandfather that nobody passed the exam. The old man from the hiding comes out and eats the rice. After having a good taste of it, he tears his robe, laughing in delight. 13-year-old Megumi left her hometown to become a real chef through this academy, but despite her family being confident in her cooking skills, she gets passes with the lowest grade possible and hangs on the edge. The whole school feels terrified of Irina and the chief, Senseiamon. Their snooty words and vibe only exemplify this. Irina sits backstage, confident that no matter how hard people work, they are always going to be one step behind her. The speech announcement of the new transfer student gets her attention as she recalls failing Suma. She seems to feel no remorse for pettily failing a qualified student. Bitch, Suma announces on stage that he's going to become Hokage, earning the hatred of the entire school in mere minutes. Irina is pissed and thinks there must be a mistake, while Suma still doesn't know why she failed him. Senzoemon smirks as he overhears the conversation, and he sends him the letter after tasting his seasoning and rice. Megumi is so anxious about being expelled that she decides to keep a low profile, but her plan goes down the drain right in her first class when she is paired up with Suma. The first lesson is of Chef Roland, the sensei, known to never have smiled. He either grades an A or an E, and has graded E to an entire class of previous sessions. He assigns them a French dish with 2 hours to prepare. Megumi is scared as hell, but puts her hopes up to Suma. The only problem is that Suma has no idea what that dish is and is just going to follow the recipe like her. The dish simmers in the last 40 minutes, and Megumi freaks out over everything that can go wrong. Suma's relaxed attitude relieves her a little. Some petty students decide to pour extra salt into their dishes behind their backs, but luckily Suma notices the lid being misplaced. Megumi freaks out about what to do in the last 30 minutes, as the chef has also noticed them facing an accident. Suma, however, is willing to serve a dish no matter what. They even serve their dish before the troublemakers. The chef's surprised that he decided to use honey to make the meat tender. Chef Roland tastes the food, and the class is in awe, as a smile forms on his face. The two get a grade solely because there is no higher grade than that. Megumi thinks Suma is not that bad. Well, unless he forces her to eat squid coated in honey. Irina is pissed when she hears about the class, not ready to let him survive in the academy. After half a day's wandering, Suma finally reaches his new dorm. Considering the lavish buildings he saw on the way there, he expected a nice dorm, only to find a spooky-looking mansion. As he entered, he witnessed smoke, earthquakes, and animals. But it turns out to be the doings of students. The manager of the dorm, Fumio, welcomes Suma, and shows interest in whether he can pass the exam. Turns out he has lost the paper that mentioned has to satisfy Fumio with whatever ingredients he brings to stay in the dorm. Suma brought no ingredients but decided to use the leftovers in the kitchen to impress Fumio. Once again, without pork or meat, this guy prepares a dish that looks rich in it. As Fumio takes a bite of the dish and sips the soup, she cannot believe that it was prepared with such limited ingredients. More bites lead to Fumio wanting Suma differently. Chad! As she allows Suma into the dorm, she forgets to tell the bath timings of boys and girls. So Suma walks into Megumi showering. Gotta love anime! As Suma rests, he feels the quietness haunting since compared to back home. Its difference is stark, but all that changes when a tile from his ceiling is removed and a guy's head pops out inviting him for the welcome party. As the crazy dorm members banter around, Megumi is surprised to know Suma passed through Fumio on his first try. She hides the fact that it took her 3 months to get into the dorm. At the mention of Elite 10, Suma asks who they are. The Elite 10 are the top 10 highest-ranking students of the academy that have formed the decision-making body, kind of like a student council. Their decisions are valued enough to not be rejected by instructors. Ishiki introduces himself and the Polar Star dorm and welcomes Suma in. Everyone then gets dramatic about living together, so Suma call them weird. Megumi tells him this means he can fit in right away. She wasn't even wrong, as a few drinks and snacks later, Suma blends in perfectly. Ishiki and Suma are the only ones left awake when Ishiki leaves to cook some more food. He comes back with peppered mackerel. Suma is delighted by the divine taste, allowing Ishiki to reintroduce himself as the 7th rank of the Elite 10. Suma is reminded of springtime by the pure delight of the mackerel. When Ishiki asks to taste what he wants to prepare, Suma decides to use the same ingredients for his dish. A few others wake up as Zuma is busy cooking. They knowingly choose to focus on what Zuma makes rather than the fact that Ishiki is only wearing an apron. As Zuma serves, nobody holds back from complimenting him as they savor every bite of the heavenly food. Ishiki mentions a French technique Suma used only for Suma to be as equally surprised as everyone else at the mention of this French technique. He tells them that he learnt it from his father, who might have travelled the world upping his cooking game. Suma then asks how to enter the Elite 10, surprising Ishiki, but is told that, although he might be tied with him right now, it's not that simple to enter the Elite 10. The next day, Suma challenges Ishiki for the position, but is told that there is a proper procedure in the academy for students to challenge each other. Shokugeki, the ultimate challenge where a student formally challenges the other student, with each student betting something valuable. So if Ishiki is betting his 7th place in Elite 10, Suma would have to bet something greater than his expulsion. Since Ishiki doesn't want him expelled, he is currently not willing to take the challenge. One such senior, Gorabayashi, challenges Irina for a spot in Elite 10 betting on his restaurant in return. Additionally, Suma needs to come up with official certification, an odd number of judges, and an agreement between the contestants to have this battle. On the other hand, Irina gets a clear win against Goda. His dishes make her feel like she came out of diving straight into a pig farm, while her cooking makes him jizz his pants. As the winner, Karen destroys his restaurant. Ishiki finds Suma interesting and is sure that his presence is going to take the academy to new levels when it comes to Shokugeki. He mentions this to Ibusaki, the Silent Dawn member who only takes part in the enjoyment. Ibusaki mentions knowing Ishiki held back his cooking ability, but Ishiki sweetly denies any such thing. Suma is woken up early in the morning by his new friends as he is surprised to learn that they farm their stuff, cutting the wood for smoke, keeping livestock, and farming a whole plot. As they reach the farm to collect the nourished fruit, Suma is surprised to see Ishiki working on the farm. Naked again, Megumi brings lunch for everyone, rice cakes, each having different flavor to it. Everyone is amazed by the range of taste she brought to a single type of dish as well as the drink she prepared. She's so cute. Suma questions why she doesn't perform this well in class, so she reveals it's a result of stage fright. We've all been there, am I right? On the way back, Suma learns that the academy has many clubs who study various cuisines and food, either taking part in competitions or working on developing new recipes. The next day, Suma and Megumi explore the clubs and decide to visit the Donburi Research Society. The room of the society is in ruins, while a JoJo's fanboy sits dead on a chair in the middle of the room. Korishi, the leader of the society, tells them that the society is shutting down. Suma and Megumi notice the recipes created by them and find them interesting. Konishi is excited for a moment after hearing only to slump back down, dejected courtesy of Irina. She smoothly coerces everyone on the council to shut down the society she doesn't like by slowly cutting down their budgets and then defeating them in Shokugeki. They are disturbed by Mito Ikumi, known as the Meat Master. See that thought you have? Jesus is watching. Mito comes in, insulting Konishi for preparing food from low-quality meat and not having bougie taste, going as far as circumcising his hair. Pissed at her arrogant and materialistic remarks, Suma intervenes by calling her an offender to cooking if her judgments are based on the price of ingredients. He then takes up the challenge of defeating her in a Shokugeki, putting a bet on his expulsion and her having to join the society under Konishi if she loses. Konishi panics, knowing her reputation for preparing the most tender beef-based dishes. She just wants to see Suma being slammed down. As the battle begins, Ikumi brings out the most premium quality meat and cuts it out in a way that allows its tenderness to remain. The whole crowd gasp, witnessing Suma unveil discount meat he bought on sale from Saitama's local grocery store. Irina knows that Ikumi's talent lies behind her sensibility to correctly determine the temperature of food and her deep affection when it comes to dealing with meat. Ikumi works hard to impress Irina, ensuring she cooks the meat and brings out as much taste as possible. Whilst doing this, she still manages to trash talk our boy. Suma is confident that his done will be eloquent enough and focuses on his dish. Ikumi serves her dish first. It's beautifully presented, pulses with juice. Fuck! I'd go for a steak right now. The judges are overwhelmed by the taste, as her don is so delicious that it's paralyzing. The audience, the judges, and Ikumi all rein to the fact Suma's dish has lost before being tasted. However, he removes the lid from his don and its key entices the judges to give it a try. Ikumi's thoughts of dissing his cheap meat fall short as she witnesses the judges happily smashing the food like... With every bite, they feel hungrier for more, unable to stop from eating it all. Turns out Suma did not just make delicious meat, but also added flavor to rice, doubling its potency. Ikumi tries his don, and it's pretty much the same reaction as the judges. The food talks to her, telling her that it's okay to be herself instead of living like a tough woman. With a clear defeat in front of Irina, all is lost. She gains a crush on Suma. As she visits the Doctor Society the next day, she is shocked to know Suma didn't join it. A camping session for the students is announced, and Ishiki and Ibusaki brief every first year about the idea of education through competition. Anyone who fails to pass the tasks in this examination is directly expelled, and basically half of the students are expelled through this every year. Moreover, the first years are more bullied in during camping as they are made to do strenuous tasks. Everyone else panics. Megumi turns into a block of ice, contrasting Suma, who is ready to make sure they land in the safe half of students. Ishiki also encourages everyone that the Polar Star dorm will most likely survive this competition. If you think Totsuki Academy's idea of camping will be tense in the wild, then you're highly mistaken. Everyone is made to stay in one of the dozen hotels Totsuki Academy owns. In the assembly hall, the students are made to meet the alumni of Totsuki Academy, elite chefs who graduated from the academy and presently own huge restaurants. One of the chefs directly expels a student just because his hair smells like citrus, because it could manipulate the aroma of food around him. Some of the chefs seem extra rude while others seem creepily affectionate, with most of the affection being directed at the anxious Megumi. Students are divided into groups, and Suma and Megumi find they belong to the same group, partnering up yet again. Chef Inui gives them their first task, using the ingredients to make whatever they want. Plot twist. There are no ingredients. As she enjoys her rice crackers, she tells them to look around for ingredients to cook while being within the limits of the fence surrounding the building. Chaos erupts as people run to catch fish and cook it in the 2-hour time that has already begun. The twins, Takumi and Isami, challenge Suma, exclaiming to be chefs, then him going as far as to ask Chef Inui to make the judgment. Sadly, Chef Inui isn't interested in extra labor, so she refuses to do anything unrelated to her task. Surprising everyone who brought fish, Takumi reveals bringing a duck to cook. The brothers show their finesse in cutting the meat efficiently and having their workflow so smooth that people could pay to enjoy it. They finish earlier than everyone else, and the moment the chef tastes it, she is embraced by a duck singing a beautiful opera. The students point out the salsa verde they made, but turns out they made a traditional version of it. The brothers pass the test with ease. Takumi and Isami worked with their father and uncle in an Italian restaurant, but they were sent by them to this academy as, even though they were loved due to their cooking in Italy, they still lacked the spark that would probably come through competition. After passing them, Chef Inui seems to have gotten an interest in what Suma brings and decides to take up the judgment thing. She decides whoever loses will kneel in front of the winner and say they're a loser. Suma then wonders what he could do to reach the level of the duck cooked. After a moment of brainstorming, he makes up a list of ingredients he needs and asks Megumi to help them. He even snatches the rice crackers from Inui. As time passes, Suma and Megumi are busy collecting ingredients while Inui gets bored of tasting the same fish over and over. Takumi seems to be agitated that Suma has not returned while only 15 minutes are left. He does not want a victory without any competition. When Suma finally comes back, he almost gets an earful from Takumi. With great devotion, Megumi and Suma prepare the deep-fried dish they intended. At first bite, Chef Inui is impressed at the crispiness of the rice crackers, yet the tenderness of the fish is coated. The Japanese mayonnaise has been prepared with an additional spice to it. It makes her feel like a mermaid being embraced by a manly rice cracker. I fucking love this anime, man. Megumi and Suma pass the test as well, but when the time comes for the judgment of who was better, Inui keeps pointing out the good points of each, failing to choose a winner, eventually using the excuse of being late and she dashing off. Takumi seems to feel this was a defeat, while Suma doesn't care. Chad! As everyone reaches back, the Polar Star members successfully turn out to have survived the first task. Before they can eat and crash, each student is ordered to prepare 50 servings of steaks for their guests, after which they can prepare their dinner. As people suffer, Suma easily manages to do this courtesy of the heavy number of customers in his diner. Pleased with the success of his first day at the camping, Suma begins to realize that it might be possible for him to reach the Elite 10. He's grateful to his father for recommending him to the academy, even more so that he's made a bunch of friends that he didn't expect to make on his journey. The day is nicely over, so he gets ready to have a bath and retire to his room for the night. She denies. She even ruins her time by refusing to play cards with her friend. Suma enters the bath excitedly, but halts upon seeing the specimen Chef Dojima stretching in the bath. Initially, Soma feels awkward, but the two bond, vibing as if long-lost friends. Dojima mentions someone coming early last year too, and the description matches exactly one joker, Ishiki. He then talks about the god tongue of Irina, and how she can even identify the origins of salts by tasting them, theorizing she will be a true master in the culinary world if she passes Totsuki in the top position, but even at her level the competition isn't easy. Takumi barges inside mocking Suma for finishing early but feels frightened upon seeing the size difference between him and Dojima. Suma and friends once again spend the night enjoying themselves and playing cards. Megumi mentions feeling refreshed due to being actively involved with Suma in today's lesson and not crumbling when tasked with her 50 servings, feeling excited to try harder now. The next day, Suma and Megumi have a lesson under Shinomiya, who gives everyone his signature recipe and assigns them to make it individually, with any discussion leading to straight expulsion. Megumi is anxious but is ready to prove herself without the help of Suma. The only problem occurs when in the chaos of grabbing vegetables, she is only left with oxidized cauliflower. She finally comes up with a solution to this and proceeds to cook. Many students fail to impress Shinomiya, but Suma passes the test. Megumi is the last one to serve, but unfortunately, she is failed by Shinomiya. Confident in her dish, she questions why she failed. Shinomiya mentions her use of wine vinegar to deal with discolored cauliflower being in perfect harmony, but the fact that she changed the recipe makes her fail. Suma comes to her rescue about her dealing with an accident optimally, but Shinomiya reveals leaving out old vegetables intentionally so the ones with poor selection fail. Having enough of the unfairness in this ideology, Suma challenges Shinomiya in a Shokugekiki with him having to rescind Megumi's expulsion should he lose. Shinomiya refuses to take up the challenge, so there's no reconsideration of Megumi's expulsion, but Dojima and Inui appear with Dojima thinking this is an interesting situation within the camping task. Inui mocks Shinomiya for being stubborn and failing such a good dish, earning a smack from Shinomiya. Dojima decides to oversee this unofficial shokashi and calls the two into the basement after the working hours are over. Megumi begs for Suma to involve himself in this chaos, but he tells that bitch to sit down as he's not ready to let her leave this way. In the basement, all the other alumni are also present as judges, but they are also ready to dash if the news of this unofficial battle reaches the authorities. Dojima announces that they are going to prepare whatever dish they want to use the leftover vegetables from all the tasks for today. The only twist in this is that the recipe, dish, and steps all will be chosen by Megumi, with Suma serving as the sous chef, following her instructions. Suma tries to resist, but Dojima tells him if this does not happen, Megumi will never take a stand for herself and is eventually going to fail. Megumi begins freaking out about what she should do as now. Not only hers, but Suma's expulsion rests in her hands, also in her hands. Her panic erupts further when Shinomiya announces he's already decided on his dish and is ready to cook. Megumi hyperventilates until Suma slaps her hands, telling her that tough times don't last, tough people do. As Shinomiya keeps mocking Megumi and Inui keeps mocking Shinomiya, Megumi finally comes up with the dish with Suma ready to help her as fast as possible. All the chefs are amazed to see Suma perfectly supporting her, not letting her fall short, but also not getting in the way of her efforts. As the time for serving appears, everyone is delighted upon tasting the French dish Shinomiya prepared. They all slip into a heavenly dimension, forgetting that it's made by a friend they only like to tease. The cabbage-based dish worked wonders in a way that they all feel enveloped by cabbage, as if the dish gives them superpowers. A perfect genjutsu. As a nervous Megumi serves her dish, everyone is surprised to see the plate shine with rainbow colors. A terrine based on 7 different vegetables, each presenting its color perfectly in the dish. The same dish was assigned during the class today, but this time Megumi added her essence to it, and rightly so. Everyone finds it delicious. The 7 vegetables and 2 sauces complement the entire dish to give 14 different flavors. Megumi shares how to preserve vegetables to use them in different seasons, and about roasting tomatoes in the oven to enhance their sweetness. 3 of the 4 chefs get into an argument in wanting to give their ideology of how homelike the dish holds, and Megumi cannot believe that after being doubted for so long, she is now being praised by the alumni of Totsuki. The judges are supposed to place coins on the plate of the person whose dish was better. As Megumi opens her eyes, she is appalled to see all the coins on Shinomiya's plate. Suma smiles at her as she tries to hold back tears. As Shinomiya is about to arrogantly leave, Dojima places a coin on her plate and mentions Shinomiya hitting a wall lately. After Shinomiya traveled to Paris and opened his restaurant, some Parisian employees tried to manipulate his restaurant, some Parisian conflicting reviews about his restaurant. Eventually, he closed off from people and ordered his employees to follow his recipes word for word or leave until he finally earned the Plus Bowl Award. Since this has been his lifelong ambition, after fulfilling it, his life hit a dead end, not knowing what to strive for further. Dojima forces Shinomiya to taste her dish, and when he does, it feels like speaking to his heart, bringing out the core memory of his mother and home and how life treated him. Shinomiya points out certain flaws in her dish, but places his coin on her plate while tearing. Shinomiya knows she chose the dish for some other reason, so Megumi shares. It was a dish that would be light on their stomachs and help in digestion after their long day of testing food. Inui, although not a judge, also places her coin on her plate. The chefs make this an excuse to call it a tie and save the 2 kids, causing Megumi to break down in relief. Suma tells her to go ahead. When she's out of sight, he punches the wall, pissed that he lost. This doesn't go unnoticed by Dojima. Or me, such a dope character moment. The dormmates give the 2 an earful for their reckless behavior before moving back to their usual nighttime chilling, which relaxes Suma and Megumi after the hectic day. If you are happy with this recap, please let me know in the comments and I'll make a video completing the season. Thank you for your time.